My name is Bianca Harper. I'm 34. At 9:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning, I was standing in front of Judge Gloria Dunn's bench in a Miami courthouse, while my own brother pointed his finger at me like I was a criminal and said, "Your Honor, my sister can't manage a checkbook, let alone $4 million in assets. She's isolated herself, she makes reckless decisions, and frankly, we're terrified she's being manipulated by people who just want her money." My mother was crying in the gallery, actual tears. My father had his hand on her shoulder, shaking his head like I'd just confessed to murder. And Chase, my baby brother who I used to make chocolate chip pancakes for every Saturday morning when we were kids, Chase was staring at me with this expression I'd never seen before. It wasn't anger, it was cold calculation, like he was already mentally redecorating my Ocean View condo. The courtroom smelled like lemon polish and old paper. There were maybe 40 people in the gallery. Some I recognized, most I didn't. My mother's church friends, my father's golf buddies, people who'd known me since I was 6 years old, watching me like I was a stranger. Judge Dunn looked at me over her reading glasses. "Ms. Harper, do you understand why we're here today?" I understood perfectly. My family was trying to have me declared legally incompetent so they could seize control of everything I'd built over the past 10 years. My condo, my yacht, my investment portfolio, the Tampa rental property that generated $3,400 a month in passive income. All of it. "Yes, Your Honor," I said. My voice came out steady. I'd practiced that steadiness for 3 weeks. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. The petition my parents filed claimed I was suffering from severe isolation and impaired judgment. They said I'd cut off contact with family, made questionable financial decisions, and showed signs of being under undue influence. The word they kept using was concerning. Everything about me was apparently concerning. What they didn't say in the petition was that they hadn't spoken to me in 6 years by their own choice. What they didn't mention was that my mother told me at Thanksgiving 2018, "You'll never amount to anything without this family's support," when I announced I was starting my own marketing agency. What they definitely didn't include was that my father called my business a little hobby 3 months before I signed my first six-figure contract. Chase's lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in a navy suit, was making her opening argument. "The Harper family is here out of genuine concern and love. They've watched Bianca spiral into isolation, reject family support, and make increasingly erratic choices. They're not here to punish her. They're here to protect her from herself and from those who would exploit her vulnerability." I sat there listening to this fiction. My lawyer, Patricia Vance, had her hand on my arm. Light pressure. Don't react. Stay calm. But let me take you back 10 years to where this really started. I was 24, working as a freelance graphic designer out of a 400 square foot studio apartment in Fort Lauderdale. I made maybe $2,100 a month on a good month. I ate a lot of rice and beans. My furniture came from Facebook Marketplace, and I was happy. My parents had made it very clear they thought I was wasting my potential. "You have a business degree," my mother would say. "You could get a real job with benefits." What she meant was, you could work for your father's accounting firm and be grateful for the nepotism. But I liked designing logos. I liked the puzzle of it. How to capture a company's entire identity in a single image. I'd spend hours perfecting the curve of a letter, the weight of a font, the exact shade of blue that said, "Trustworthy but innovative." One Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting in a coffee shop on Las Olas Boulevard, working on a logo for a local bakery who was paying me $300. At the next table, two men were having a loud conversation about a marketing campaign that wasn't working. One of them, later I'd learn his name was Richard Mercer, kept saying, "The visuals are wrong. The whole feel is wrong. We're trying to reach millennials with graphics that look like 1997. I did something I'd never done before. I turned around and said, "Excuse me, I couldn't help overhearing. I'm a graphic designer. Would you like a second opinion, Mr.?" Mercer looked at me like I'd just offered him a winning lottery ticket. "You're hired," he said. "I don't even care what you charge. Fix this." That was my first real break. Mr. Mercer owned a boutique hotel chain, 3 properties in South Florida. He paid me $4,500 for a complete rebrand. When his occupancy rates jumped 23% in the next quarter, he told every business owner he knew about me. Within 2 years, I wasn't just designing logos. I was building entire digital marketing strategies. I learned Google Ads, Facebook advertising, email automation, SEO. I cold emailed brands offering to run their campaigns for 60 days at cost. If I increased their revenue, they'd pay me a percentage. If I didn't, they owed me nothing. I won more than I lost. By the time I was 28, I had 6 employees and an office in Coral Gables. By 30, I'd signed contracts with a national retail chain. By 32, I owned a marketing agency generating $840,000 in annual revenue. And that's when my family suddenly remembered I existed. My mother called me in March 2020. I was in the middle of a client presentation, so I let it go to voicemail. "Bianca, sweetheart, it's Mom. We haven't talked in so long. I'd love to catch up. Maybe lunch this weekend? Call me back." I didn't call back immediately. I was busy. But also, and I'm being honest here, I didn't trust it. 6 years of radio silence. And now, sweetheart? The second call came from Chase. "Hey, sis, Mom's worried about you. We all are. You're working too hard. You need family around you. Let's get together." The third call was my father. No pretense of warmth. "Bianca, your mother is upset. You need to call her back." I finally agreed to dinner. Neutral location, a steakhouse in Boca Raton. I drove there in my new Audi, which I'd bought in cash 6 months earlier. My mother hugged me in the parking lot. She smelled like Chanel No. 5, same as always. "You look so thin," she said. "Are you eating?" Inside, the conversation was pleasant for exactly 12 minutes. My father asked about my business. I kept it vague. "It's going well," because I'd learned at 16 that sharing good news with my parents was like handing them ammunition. Then Chase said, "So, I heard you bought a condo on Miami Beach. Ocean view?" I should have lied. I don't know why I didn't. "Yes, closed on it last month." My mother's smile froze. "That must have been expensive." $1.8 million, I said. Still don't know why I told them. My father put down his fork. "Where did you get $1.8 million? "I saved it, and I took out a mortgage for part of it." "From your little design business?" My mother's voice had that edge I remembered from childhood, the one that came right before "You're being ridiculous." "It's a marketing agency, Mom. We do—" "How much do you make?" my father interrupted. I should have ended it there, should have said enough, and changed the subject. Instead, I made the mistake of being honest. Last year, personally, about $320,000 after taxes and expenses. The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear the couple 3 tables away discussing their divorce. Chase recovered first. "Wow, that's impressive, Bianca." But my mother was staring at me like I'd just admitted to running a drug cartel. "And you didn't think to tell us? Your own family?" "Tell you what?" "That you were doing so well. We could have helped you invest it properly, manage it responsibly. I have a financial advisor." "Who?" my father demanded. "A professional. Through Merrill Lynch. You need family oversight on decisions like this." My father was using his accountant voice, the one that meant he'd already decided I was wrong and was just waiting for me to realize it. Large sums of money require careful planning, estate planning, tax strategy. You can't just— "I have an estate attorney. I have a CPA. You have people you're paying to tell you what you want to hear." My mother touched my hand. Her fingers were ice cold, despite the warm restaurant. "Honey, we're not trying to control you. We're trying to protect you. You're not equipped to handle this kind of wealth on your own. You never were good with numbers." That last part made my face burn so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. I got straight A's in math through high school. I managed a business with nearly $1 million in annual revenue. But in my mother's mind, I was still the girl who couldn't balance a checkbook at 16. I pulled my hand away. I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. Are you, though? Chase leaned forward. When was the last time you took a vacation? When was the last time you just lived? You're working yourself to death for what? Money you don't even know how to enjoy? I bought a yacht last month, I heard myself say. 50-foot azimuth. I enjoy it plenty. I watched my father's jaw clench. My mother made a small sound like she'd been punched. And Chase smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who'd just been proven right about something. A yacht, my father repeated. You bought a yacht. Yes. And you didn't think that was something you should discuss with people who actually understand maritime assets and their maintenance costs and depreciation. I stood up. I'm 34 years old. I don't need permission to buy things with money I earned. Sit down, my father said. We're not finished. I am. I walked out, left them sitting there with the appetizers I'd barely touched. Drove back to my condo, with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. That was April 2020. I didn't hear from them again until the conservatorship petition was filed in February 2024. But between April 2020 and February 2024, my life got even better. I hired a portfolio manager who helped me build an investment portfolio worth $1.2 million. I bought a rental property in Tampa that my CPA recommended as a tax strategy. I promoted my best employee, Skylar Graham, to creative director and gave her a 15% profit share. I sponsored a scholarship at my old community college. I also stopped checking my phone hoping my family would call. Stopped imagining reconciliation scenarios. Stopped believing that success would somehow make them proud of me. I was happy. Genuinely happy. I had friends, real ones, who liked me, not for what I could do for them. I had work I loved. I had a yacht I took out every Sunday morning to watch the sunrise over the Atlantic. I had a life I'd built entirely by myself, and that, apparently, was the problem. The first sign something was wrong came on a Tuesday morning. I was at my office reviewing Q1 numbers with Skylar when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Is this Bianca Harper? A woman's voice. Professional. Careful. Yes? This is Jennifer Walsh from the Miami-Dade County Clerk's Office. I'm calling to inform you that a petition for conservatorship has been filed in your case. You have 30 days to respond. My stomach dropped. I'm sorry, what? She repeated it slower. Conservatorship. Filed by Helen and John Harper, alleging incompetence and need for protective oversight. Court date March 21st. I hung up and immediately called my estate attorney, David Chen. Someone's trying to have me declared incompetent. 2 hours later, I was sitting in his office reading the petition. It was 47 pages long. Every page was a new kind of horror. They claimed I'd isolated myself from family and refused their help. They claimed I'd made reckless and unexplained large purchases, including real estate and vehicles. They claimed I'd been unduly influenced by business associates who were exploiting my limited financial understanding. They included a statement from my mother's doctor saying she was deeply concerned about her daughter's mental state and decision-making capacity. They wanted full control of all my assets. They wanted the authority to make all my financial and medical decisions. They wanted, essentially, to make me a child again. Can they do this? I asked David. They can file, he said. Whether they can win is another question. But Bianca, this is serious. Conservatorships are meant for people who genuinely can't care for themselves, people with dementia, severe mental illness, developmental disabilities. You're a successful business owner. You're going to need to prove that in court. How do I prove I'm competent? That feels like a trap, like proving you're not crazy. You prove it with documentation. Bank statements showing responsible financial management. Contracts showing business success. Testimony from professionals who can speak to your capacity. And you stay calm. If you walk into that courtroom angry or emotional, you play into their narrative. I hired Patricia Vance the same day. She specialized in defending against frivolous conservatorship cases. "I've seen this before," she told me in our first meeting. "Family members who feel entitled to money they didn't earn. They file these petitions hoping you'll settle, give them a payout to make it go away. I'm not giving them anything." "Good, then we fight." The next 6 weeks were a special kind of hell. Every day felt like I was being watched, judged, evaluated. I documented everything. Every business decision, every purchase, every meeting. I pulled 10 years of tax returns. I got affidavits from Mr. Mercer and Schuyler Graham, and my CPA and my financial advisor. I compiled evidence like I was preparing for war, because I was. 3 weeks before the hearing, my mother called me. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Bianca, this doesn't have to be ugly. We're your family. We love you. We just want to make sure you're protected. If you just sit down with us and our attorney, we can work out an arrangement that's fair to everyone. You keep your business, we help manage the rest. It's reasonable. Please call me back." I deleted it. 1 week before the hearing, I saw Chase at a Whole Foods on Brickell Avenue. I was picking up groceries at 7 p.m. after work. He was in the wine section. We made eye contact. He walked over. "Bianca." "Chase, you look good." I didn't respond. I had frozen salmon in my cart that was thawing. "This doesn't have to go to court," he said. "You know that, right? We could settle this tomorrow. You sign over durable power of attorney to Dad for financial decisions. Mom gets added to your medical directive, and this all goes away. So I give up control of my life, and you drop the false claim that I'm incompetent? It's not false. You're making dangerous decisions. You don't even see it. That's the scary part." Something clicked inside me right then. Not anger, something colder. I looked at my brother, this person I used to make pancakes for, used to help with homework, used to love, and I saw a stranger who looked at my success and saw only money he thought should have been his. "The yacht," I said. "That's what this is really about, isn't it?" He didn't deny it. "You bought a yacht, Bianca, a $500,000 yacht. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad are still paying off Chase Jr. Sis medical bills, and I'm drowning in my mortgage, and you're just, what? Sunbathing on the ocean while your family struggles. Your family struggles because Dad made bad investments and you bought a house you couldn't afford. That's not my fault. We're family. You're supposed to help family." People were staring. An older woman in the produce section had stopped pretending to examine avocados and was openly watching us. I lowered my voice. "I'll see you in court, Chase." I checked out and left. My hands were steady the whole drive home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt this profound clarity. The brother I'd loved was gone, if he'd ever really existed at all. What remained was just a man who decided my money should have been his. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every family interaction from the past 10 years. How they'd called me irresponsible at 24 for choosing freelance work. How they'd mocked my little design projects at 26. How they'd ignored my wedding invitation at 28. I'd married and divorced in the span of 18 months. Another thing they later used as evidence of poor judgment. How they'd never once said, "We're proud of you." At 2:47 a.m., I got up and went to my home office. I pulled out every contract I'd ever signed, every client testimonial, every award my agency had won, every bank statement showing steady, responsible growth. I laid it all out on my desk. This was my life. This was proof I existed as a competent, successful human being. And I was going to have to present it to a judge to prove I deserved the basic right to control my own assets. The absurdity of it made me laugh. Then cry. Then laugh again. The hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. on March 21st. I got there at 8:30, wearing a navy suit Patricia had approved. Conservative but confident, she'd said. You want to look like someone who makes good decisions. The courtroom filled up fast. My parents sat in the front row with their attorney, Martin Cruz. Chase sat next to them, looking solemn. Behind them, my mother's sister, my father's brother, some cousins I hadn't seen in years. They'd brought an audience. Patricia had brought her own witnesses. Mr. Mercer sat 3 rows back, looking uncomfortable in a suit. Schuyler was next to him. My CPA, Brandon Torres, was there. My financial advisor, Lisa Chen, had flown in from New York. Judge Dunn took the bench at 9:02 a.m. She was a black woman in her early 60s with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. Martin Cruz made his opening argument. Isolation, poor judgment, reckless spending, vulnerable to exploitation, needed protection, loving family just trying to help. Then Patricia stood up. Your Honor, Bianca Harper is a 34-year-old entrepreneur who built a successful marketing agency from nothing. She employs 8 people. She pays her taxes. She has never missed a mortgage payment, never overdrafted a bank account, never been sued for debt. The only vulnerability she exhibits is having a family that views her success as an opportunity for financial gain. Martin objected. Judge Dunn overruled. Patricia continued. The petitioners claim Ms. Harper isolated herself from family. The truth is, her family cut off contact 6 years ago when she refused to work for her father's firm. They reappeared only after learning she'd accumulated significant assets. They claim she makes reckless decisions. The evidence will show she makes calculated business decisions with professional guidance. They claim she needs protection. The only thing Ms. Harper needs protection from is this predatory petition. The first witness Martin called was my mother. She took the stand wearing a lavender dress and pearl earrings. She looked small and worried. Mrs. Harper, can you describe your relationship with your daughter? I love Bianca very much. My mother's voice trembled. She's my only daughter. I've always wanted the best for her. When did you first become concerned about her well-being? About 4 years ago. She stopped returning our calls. She wouldn't come to family events. We'd hear things secondhand, that she'd bought this condo, that she'd bought a boat. We were worried she was being taken advantage of. Did you try to reach out? Many times. She wouldn't talk to us. It was like she'd been turned against her own family. What made you decide to file this petition? My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. We heard she'd signed contracts worth millions of dollars without any family oversight. We heard she'd invested in properties we knew nothing about. We were terrified she was going to lose everything to people who were using her. Patricia's cross-examination was gentle but thorough. Mrs. Harper, when did you last have a conversation with your daughter before 2020? I'm not sure exactly. Was it 2018? At Thanksgiving? Possibly. And at that Thanksgiving, didn't you tell Bianca she'd never amount to anything without family support? I don't recall saying that. You don't recall telling your daughter she was wasting her potential by starting her own business? I may have expressed concern. And after that conversation, who stopped communicating with whom? My mother hesitated. Bianca stopped calling. Or did you stop calling her because she wouldn't take your advice? Objection, Martin said. Argumentative. Sustained, Judge Dunn said. But she was watching my mother carefully. Patricia pulled out a document. Mrs. Harper, this is Bianca's phone records from 2019 to 2020. Can you point out where she refused to take your calls? My mother stared at the paper. We may have let things lapse. In fact, there are no incoming calls from you or your husband to Bianca's number between November 2018 and March 2020, are there? We were giving her space. Space or silence? The questioning went on for 40 minutes. By the end, my mother's story had shifted from Bianca cut us off to we had a disagreement and lost touch. Next up was my father. He was more aggressive on the stand. Mr. Harper, you're a CPA, correct? Yes, 42 years. And you've reviewed your daughter's financial decisions? What I've been able to learn about them, yes. And what concerns you? Everything. My father leaned forward. She's making six-figure purchases without consulting anyone who understands wealth management. She's trusting strangers with her money. She bought a yacht, a depreciating asset, instead of investing conservatively. It's textbook financial immaturity. Patricia let him talk. Then she stood up. Mr. Harper, you say Bianca consulted no one who understands wealth management. Is that accurate? As far as I know. Patricia handed him a document. This is a letter from Lisa Chen, Bianca's financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. Ms. Chen has a master's in finance from Wharton and 20 years of experience. Would you say she understands wealth management? My father scanned it. I'm not familiar with her work. This is another letter from Brandon Torres, Bianca's CPA. He's certified in tax law and estate planning. Would you say he understands wealth management? I'd have to verify his credentials. Your Honor, I'd like to enter these letters into evidence along with the credentials of Ms. Harper's entire financial team. Judge Dunn nodded. So entered. Patricia turned back to my father. Mr. Harper, when you say Bianca is making immature decisions, you mean decisions you wouldn't make, correct? I mean objectively poor decisions. Such as buying a yacht? Yes. An asset she purchased in cash, which she uses regularly for both recreation and business entertainment. An asset that's appreciated 8% in value since purchase due to the luxury boat market. Is that still an objectively poor decision? My father's face flushed. Boats are money pits. Not if you can afford the maintenance. Can Bianca afford it? That's not the point. Actually, Mr. Harper, that is exactly the point. Bianca can afford her lifestyle. She's not in debt. She's not being sued. She's not defaulting on obligations. So when you say she's financially immature, what you really mean is she won't take your advice. She needs guidance. She has guidance from licensed professionals. What she doesn't need is control from family members who admittedly didn't speak to her for 6 years until they learned she had money. Martin objected. Judge Dunn sustained it. But the point was made. Chase was the last family witness. He looked nervous taking the stand. Martin walked him through the same script. Concern, love, worry about isolation, fear of exploitation. Then Patricia stood up. Mr. Harper, the younger Mr. Harper, you're married with 2 children, correct? Yes. And you're currently facing foreclosure on your home in Coral Springs? Chase's face went pale. We've had some financial difficulties, but did you ask Bianca for money before filing this petition? No. Never? I mentioned our situation once. Patricia pulled out another document. This is a text message from your phone to Bianca's, dated January 14th, 2024. Would you read it aloud? Chase took the paper. His hands shook. B, we're drowning. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Mom and Dad are tapped out. You're the only one who can help. I need $85,000, please. And did she respond? No. So, you asked your sister for $85,000, she didn't respond, and 6 weeks later you signed on to a petition to have her declared incompetent? It's not like that. What's it like then? We're genuinely worried about her. Or worried you won't get access to her money? Objection! Martin was on his feet. Your Honor, this is harassment. Overruled, Judge Dunn said quietly. Answer the question, Mr. Harper. Chase stared at his lap. I'm worried about my sister and her assets. Yes, okay. Yes, she has millions of dollars and we have nothing. Our parents raised us the same, gave us the same opportunities, and somehow she gets everything while we struggle. It's not fair. The courtroom went silent. Chase seemed to realize what he'd just said. His eyes went wide. Patricia didn't push further. No more questions. Judge Dunn called a 15-minute recess. I went to the bathroom and stood at the sink, staring at my reflection. My face was pale but composed. Patricia had been right. Stay calm. Let the evidence speak. When we reconvened, Patricia called her witnesses. Mr. Mercer went first. He testified about how I'd transformed his business, about the intelligence and creativity I'd shown, about the years he'd watched me build my agency with discipline and vision. Has Bianca ever seemed incompetent to you? Patricia asked. Never. She's one of the most capable people I know. Skylar Graham testified next. She talked about working with me for 7 years, about how I'd mentored her, about the systematic and thoughtful way I ran the business. Does Bianca make impulsive decisions? No, she researches everything. Sometimes it drives me crazy how careful she is. Brandon Torres, my CPA, brought the numbers. Tax returns showing steady income growth. Investment statements showing diversified holdings. Property records showing responsible ownership. Retirement accounts fully funded. In your professional opinion, is Bianca Harper financially incompetent? Absolutely not. She's in the top 10% of my clients in terms of financial responsibility. Lisa Chen flew in from New York to testify about my investment strategy, conservative growth, risk management, long-term planning. Does Ms. Harper take your advice? Always. Sometimes she pushes back with good questions, which shows she's engaged, but she never makes a major decision without consulting me first. By 3 p.m., Patricia had built an overwhelming case. But Martin Cruz had one more card to play. He called a Dr. Raymond Fisher, a psychiatrist my mother had apparently consulted. Dr. Fisher testified that while he'd never met me, based on the behavioral patterns described by my mother, I exhibited possible signs of isolation consistent with undue influence. Patricia tore him apart on cross. You never met Bianca? No. Never evaluated her? No. Never reviewed her medical records? No. So your opinion is based entirely on what her mother told you? Yes, but no further questions. Judge Dunn looked annoyed. Dr. Fisher, you're aware that diagnosing someone you've never met is ethically questionable. Your Honor, I wasn't diagnosing, merely observing. Thank you, you're excused. At 4 p.m., Judge Dunn asked if anyone else had testimony to present. Martin Cruz shook his head. Patricia Vance stood. Your Honor, I have one final witness. Bianca Harper herself. I took the stand. Patricia walked me through my career, the cold emails, the risk-taking, the gradual growth, the professional network I'd built. Bianca, why didn't you ask your family for help when you were starting out? Because they didn't believe in what I was doing. They thought it was a waste of time. And when you became successful, why didn't you share that success with them? Because they didn't want to celebrate with me. They wanted to manage me. Do you love your family? I paused. I love who I thought they were. I don't know these people. Martin Cruz's cross-examination was predictable. Why did I buy a yacht? Why didn't I consult my father about investments? Why did I cut off contact? I answered each question calmly. I bought the yacht because I wanted it and could afford it. I didn't consult my father because I had professional advisors. I didn't cut off contact. They did. Then he asked, do you think you're better than your family? No, I think I made different choices. That doesn't make me better or worse. Just different. Different enough that you won't help your own brother save his home? I looked at Chase. He wouldn't meet my eyes. My brother is 32 years old. He bought a house he couldn't afford, hoping for income that didn't materialize. That's not my responsibility to fix. That's a cold answer. It's an honest answer. I offered to help him make a budget 2 years ago. He laughed at me. Now he wants $85,000 to bail him out, and when I didn't respond fast enough, he tried to have me declared incompetent. So yes, Mr. Cruz, I'm cold. I've been frozen solid since February. The gallery was quiet. Some people looked uncomfortable. A few were nodding. Judge Dunn called another recess. When we came back, she delivered her ruling. I've presided over conservatorship cases for 18 years. I've granted petitions when families were genuinely trying to protect vulnerable individuals. I've denied petitions when families were transparently trying to exploit their relatives. This case is the latter. Bianca Harper is a successful entrepreneur. She has professional advisors. She has documentation of responsible financial management spanning a decade. She has witnesses who testify to her competence and judgment. The petitioners, on the other hand, have presented speculation, hurt feelings, and a psychiatrist who never met the respondent. More concerning is the timing. The petitioners had no contact with Ms. Harper for years until they learned of her wealth. The younger Mr. Harper admitted on the stand that he requested a large sum of money weeks before filing this petition. This is not concern, this is opportunism. Petition denied with prejudice. Furthermore, I'm sanctioning the petitioners $15,000 in fees to be paid to Ms. Harper's legal team, and I'm referring this matter to the state attorney's office for investigation of potential fraud. My mother started crying. My father sat stone-faced. Chase put his head in his hands. Judge Dunn wasn't finished. She looked at my brother. Mr. Harper, you said something earlier that stuck with me. You said it wasn't fair that your sister has wealth while you struggle. Let me be clear, life isn't fair. But your sister didn't steal from you. She didn't cheat you. She worked for what she has. The fact that you're struggling is tragic, but it's not her fault. And trying to solve your problems by taking her rights away is not just unfair, it's unconscionable. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. I walked out of that courthouse with Patricia at my side. Mr. Mercer hugged me in the hallway. Skylar was crying happy tears. Brandon shook my hand and said, I'm sending you the biggest invoice of your life, but you earned it. I didn't look back at my family, didn't wait for an apology that wouldn't come. I just walked out into the Miami sunshine and breathed. 2 months later, I got a letter from the state attorney's office. They'd investigated and found evidence that my mother had forged my signature on a document attempting to add herself to my bank accounts 6 months before filing the petition. Criminal charges were being considered. My father's accounting firm lost 3 major clients after word spread about the conservatorship attempt. Turns out, clients don't trust accountants who try to steal from their own children. Chase's house went into foreclosure. They moved in with my parents. I didn't take joy in any of it. I just felt hollow. 6 months after the hearing, I was sitting on my yacht watching the sunset. The water was calm. The sky was doing that thing it does where it's 6 different shades of orange at once. My phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Bianca, it's Chase. I didn't hang up. I probably should have. I'm not calling to ask for money, he said quickly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not because the charges didn't stick or because I lost the house. I'm sorry because I was wrong. You didn't owe me anything. You never did. I convinced myself you'd stolen something from me, but really, I was just jealous. Okay, I said. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Chase? That I forgive you? I don't know if I do. You tried to take away my freedom, my autonomy, everything I'd built, because you were bad with money and jealous. That's not something I can just get over. I know, I hope someday you can. I hung up. Do I forgive him? I don't know. Some days I think I might. Other days I remember standing in that courtroom listening to him tell the judge I was incompetent, and I feel that cold click again. Here's what I know. Silence isn't peace. It's just the absence of noise. Real peace is knowing your boundaries and defending them. Real peace is walking away from people who see your success as their opportunity. My family thought I owed them something because we shared blood. But I didn't owe them my money, my freedom, or my future. The only thing I owed was to myself, to protect what I'd built and to refuse to be made small so they could feel bigger. If you're watching this and you've ever had someone try to claim your success as their right, type, I protected my peace in the comments. Or if you're still deciding whether to set that boundary, type, I'm learning. Both are valid. Both are brave. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. And remember, you don't need permission to succeed. You just need the courage to defend it when people who should have celebrated you try to tear you down instead.